Welcome to This Life I Live in Truth podcast, a podcast about living life authentically. Each week, we deliver the best stories from individuals who have decided with intention to live authentic lives. Now here's your host, Gessie Belizaire.
Welcome back to the village. Audience, I know I say this all the time, but it's because it's true. So I have a special treat for us tonight. I have a woman who I share a birthday with, who we come from the same womb. And a woman truly, all jokes aside, after God's very own heart, who has the grit and the refreshing humor to match. ASCP certified medical laboratory scientist with an MBA in healthcare management and a BS in biology. She's coming through with the academic background, y'all. So tonight we are going to basically be celebrating her life and her elevated perspective on health, love, and just so much more. I am truly humbled and proud to really introduce to you guys my sister, my other half, Trish Belizaire-Croft. Welcome to the show, Trish.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Wow, you made me sound so excellent.
That's because you are. Come on now.
No. I'm just a regular average girl, you know.
Okay. We'll go with that. So
Just
before
me
we get
being humble.
started,
That's me being humble.
listen,
Oh,
you gotta brag on yourself, from every now and then. But
yes,
before we get started, I wanted to know, are you game to play a little game?
sure. Am I gonna
Oh,
win?
I don't know,
Are
audience.
you
Is
gonna
she gonna win?
cry if I win? Are you gonna
No.
cry if I win? Okay,
Mm-mm.
cool.
Absolutely not. All right. So we're gonna play a little game and it's called Give Me 5 Words. Okay. So to help
Mhm.
explain the game, basically you're gonna explain who you are. And
Okay.
so the way it's gonna go is you're gonna start by saying, I am blank. I'll start
Mhm.
just to give you an example. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll just start to give you an example. So
Okay.
I am mother. I am relentless. I am strong. So you good to go?
I'm good to go.
So 5 words to introduce the audience to who you are, basically, and go.
Mm. I am a daughter. I'm a sister. I am a wife. I am impatient. I am strong. I am approachable, even though I don't seem like it at first glance.
All
I think that was
right.
5.
Yeah, I think that was 5. Thank you so much
Mm.
for playing the little game.
You're
So
welcome. You're
audience,
welcome.
yeah, for sure. Audience, you got to hear just a little bit of introduction. But all games aside, I wanted to get some help. Can you take a
Mhm.
moment to introduce yourself to the audience? I know we played the little game and I gave you a bit of an intro, but talk to the people. What do you want them to know about you?
Mm. I guess I agreed to do this because I wanted to share what I've experienced in life with others that are maybe going through the same thing. And if I can help someone else, then, we can all pay it forward. I think we can all help each other in the struggles that we either struggle with, openly, or things that we believe that we can't share with other people. So I think that's what I want to share, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to share my experience so that whoever's going through the same thing can be one step ahead of the game than I was, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. But can you introduce the audience to who you are? Because they're listening for the first time. And aside from the introduction and knowing your in the healthcare space and your daughter, your wife, how do you want to introduce yourself? How do you want to introduce this conversation that we're going to have surrounding,
Well,
some struggles that people have that, they may be dealing with internally?
yeah. I don't really like talking about myself, crazy as that sounds. I guess I can start with the medical laboratory scientist. A lot of people don't really know what that is, but basically what I do is I work in a laboratory, and people see me more often than they think they do, but they don't know that I'm working behind the scenes. Like when you go to the doctor and you go there for whatever ailments, and your doctor writes you up a lab script and you got to go to the lab to get your blood drawn. I'm the one that eventually sees that blood and results it to your doctor. Now, you may
Oh.
not know that because your doctor's the one calling you, telling you, hey, you have so-and-so, but the doctor didn't do that. Somebody in the laboratory, ran your specimens on the analyzer and figured out whether you had a high glucose sugar or, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
So that's what I do in a nutshell. I'm a generalist. There are some people that, specialize, like you have microbiologists, but basically a generalist is someone who works in all departments. At the hospital that I work at, I can be in any department on any given day, but usually they try to rotate us. So within a week, I can be a blood banker, I can work in hematology, or I can be a chemist, just to generalize everything. We also do COVID testing, so I've been a part of that ever since, COVID began, even when it
Mhm.
started with the pandemic in 2020. I had to say I am God's child. Like, I've never once been without a job since the pandemic started, even though people were getting laid off left and right. Like, God's child, I got to put God up there because without him, I don't know where I'd be. And, yeah, squeeze that in there real quick. But
Mhm.
speaking of God, I am a God-fearing woman. I believe that it's because of him that I am still here. Because if you truly know my story, like, I always say to myself, like, I've been reborn, because if things didn't go right, I wouldn't be here today. So I think that God has given me grace upon grace upon grace, which is actually a song that we heard in church yesterday. And I can definitely relate to it because that's exactly why I'm here, because of his grace. That's why we're all here,
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I know it was, a bit
It
tough
was
to
a
talk about.
mouthful, huh?
Yeah, no, 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 not that it was a mouthful, but sometimes, guests come on, they're like, wow, I never been asked to introduce myself. And then when you sit and you think about it,
Yeah,
you're
it's
like,
true.
wow, you know,
Who
I'm
am
I'm I'm
I?
really dope. So
Yeah.
for as long as I could remember, you have been a health advocate for school, for church, for work, in the community, and I have watched you advocate for numerous health issues. Was this a choice that
Mhm.
you consciously made? And if so, why?
Um, I don't think it was a choice that I said, hey, I want to become an advocate for health. I think it's something that when you go through something and if the experience is bad, you think to yourself, hey, I don't want somebody else to go through this, not if I can help it. You understand? So I try my very best when I experience something, and if it doesn't go well, I try to educate others and tell them, hey, do you know that you have this right? Do you know that you don't have to do this? You understand?
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's something that I said, hey, this is what I want to be when I grow up. But I think it's just something that I stumbled upon.
Right. Right.
And I do believe that everything happens for a reason. And I always tell my husband, I don't believe in coincidences. I feel like God put you exactly where you are supposed to be. And even with the experiences that you go through, I think that you experience it because he wants you to help someone else. And you never know who you're helping. You never know.
Right. I love it. I love you. What a word. What a word. You said everything happens for a reason, and God
Hmm.
wants you to help others. He wants what you've experienced for it to possibly be somebody else's like lifeline, essentially.
Right.
Um, I love it so much. So
Yeah.
mhm, what are some health topics that, don't get enough attention that you want to highlight tonight? and possibly educate us
Um,
on?
I want to say a lot of things that women go through don't really get as highlight. Well, I want to say I've been through two things that one has gotten highlight and the other not so much.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I want to talk about is breast cancer. People have, obviously that's something that's highlighted. People go through runs and all that stuff. But most recently, what I've experienced were fibroids, and I don't really think that's something that we'll talk about a lot. And if we do, then maybe I was living under a rock and didn't know about it, because I don't know about any runs for fibroids or anything like that.
Right. I definitely think there are runs out there, but I definitely think that breast
Maybe not as
cancer
popular.
breast cancer is more mainstream.
Hmm.
And I just think where we are in society and just the difference between men and women and men have this idea that once a month that they don't know how we have a baby, but they know a little bit about menstruation, but they're a little like weirded out about it. So I think it all has to do with that and it just not being like
Hmm.
the most sexiest thing to highlight. But there are definitely walks out there. There are definitely people um, in the health advocate space really bringing some attention to fibroids and just how
Well, I want to.
prevalent it is in the African American community.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of things, something I want to highlight is the fact that some women have it and don't know they do, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that may also contribute to the fact that maybe it's not as popular as, breast cancer, so to speak. You talk breast cancer and everybody's like, oh, okay, the Gemma Foundation, Gloria Gemma, you know what I mean? But fibroid,
Mm-hmm.
I can't say for myself that I know who discovered it or whatever. But I do know,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's very prevalent in African American women. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to take it back to, okay, how do I not make this about genetics? What can I do in part if it is something that is genetics? How can I, you know, put me at a crossroad where genetics does not play the major role in making me develop this, and I'm talking nutrition. So,
Right. Okay.
yeah.
So there are two things that you wanted to highlight that you personally have a personal story with. The first of which being breast cancer, and the second of which being fibroids. Is there anything about those two topics that you want to highlight or bring attention to that many of us may not know? And you could speak in terms of prevention or anything that comes to mind.
I want to say, and this is something I tell my husband all the time, women, we need to listen to our bodies, because nobody, and I mean nobody, not the specialist, not, the number one doctor in the world, no one knows your body like yourself. The minute that you feel that, hey, something is different or something is not right, look into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the sooner you look into things that don't feel right for you, the sooner you can find out what it is and how you
Mm-hmm.
can treat it or prevent, you know, the worst case scenario from happening. And the reason why I say that is because this is exactly how it happened for me with the breast cancer. I was not properly diagnosed with breast cancer. I was told that I had a blockage in my duct. I was misdiagnosed. I was scheduled for surgery and everything. And the day before my surgery that I was supposed to remove this blocked duct, I canceled. And I definitely believe it was God telling me, like, it just didn't sit well with me the day before my surgery that, hey, I have leakage in my breast, but they're telling me that I have a blockage. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out, okay, if something is blocked, why is it leaking? Do you understand where I'm going
Right.
with this?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I just struggled with it. I'm like, okay, if this is just plain sense, like common sense, and then you have the specialist that I went to go see that told me this is what it is. It just didn't make sense to me. And at the end, I followed my gut and I canceled the surgery, got a second opinion, and that's how they find out that I got breast cancer. So that gut feeling that I'm talking about, women, and all women have it, okay? Even if you don't know why you're feeling that way, explore it. Explore the feeling that you're going through, because 9 times out of 10, it's probably for a reason. I don't know what that reason may be, but it's every time it's worth looking into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is such powerful conversation that we're having right now. I want to take a moment because sometimes I just want to make sure I'm understanding some of the key points that you highlighted just now. The first being, women, we really, really do need to listen to our bodies because it will not lie to us. And perfect example that you explained was having to go in for a procedure, canceling, and getting a second opinion. Getting a second opinion, although it's not popular, it is absolutely recommended. Um, I think anytime somebody is getting diagnosed with something, it should be standard practice to get, if you can, if you are afforded the possibility to get a second opinion and sometimes even a third opinion. It does not hurt
Absolutely.
to be certain um, that whatever treatment is ahead, that you have been properly diagnosed so that you can be in it to win it, essentially. I mean, at the end of the day,
Mhm.
we're not God, and whatever is meant to happen is going to happen. But if we can
Right.
properly, take care and navigate our health and be at the forefront of how it happens, that is so important. So thank you so much for highlighting the need to get a second opinion, the need to follow your gut, and to just know that your body's not going to lie to you.
Mhm.
Wow, super powerful.
And the
S
second thing was with the fibroids. Like
Mhm.
on my, I won't call what number birthday it was, but last year when I celebrated it, last year when I celebrated a birthday, soon after, I want to say not even a month, like I noticed a change in my menstrual cycle, you know. Not
Mhm.
only did I change from 5 days to 7 days, I went from going to using, let's just say, 3 pads to 5 pads, you know? Like it just, something changed, you know? And
Right,
I know my body. I'm the type of
right.
woman that I know when I'm going to get my period. You know what I mean? Like if
Mhm,
it says
mhm.
28-day cycle, you better believe on that 28th day,
It's
my
coming.
attitude is coming out like my husband says. Are you on your period, aren't you? I'm like, don't even blame this on my period. You know, I'm mad at you because X, Y, Z, you know?
Right,
But
right, right,
like the point is something changed, and no matter how small it was, it meant something. And
right.
sure enough, when I went to look into it, they're like, hey, do you know you have this many fibroids and one is as big as a grapefruit? So, yeah, women, listen to your gut. Anything changes, look into it. Like, that's my biggest message. And know your rights, too. I think a
Mm,
lot of people don't go into, second opinion because they take the doctor's word. Not to say that I don't respect doctors, because I do. Like, I went to medical school. Like, that's what I wanted to become. But at the end of the day, your doctor's not your God, Like,
right,
don't feel intimidated by them that, okay, this is it. This is what she said. Well, she can be wrong. And in
right,
my case, my doctor was wrong, and she was the specialist. And now,
right,
well, I was saying this to my husband the other day. I'm like, do you know what a specialist is? A specialist is? This is someone that is the best of the best in that field, you know?
right,
So, yeah,
right. But even with that being said, taking it to a place of spirituality, we still, at the end of the day, specialist or no specialist, we still come into this world in human form. And so, there's
absolutely.
there's an opportunity for us to mess it up.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the point that you make is spot on. I want
You
to
know.
know, given what we've spoken about, what does it mean to you in 3 words or less? What does resiliency mean to you?
Mm, 3 words or less. I suppose being able to endure. Oh, that was 4 words, huh?
That's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't have to be sentence. It could be 4 separate
Um,
words, you know?
I think being able to endure and learning from what you went through,
Mhm,
and not just learning but sharing with others too. Because, like I said, like I'm not the first person to deal with the things that we are discussing, you know.
mhm.
So I think we should make it a point that if we know something and we become specialists in our own right, you know, I'm a specialist when it comes to being a patient,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Oh, let me tell
So
you.
it's like if you can share, you know, what you've been through, so that somebody else doesn't have to go through that headache, why not? You know,
Mhm.
why not?
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm here to do. And I figure, you know, through this podcast, people can listen over and over, and I don't have to talk over and over, right?
You're like, "Just listen to the podcast."
Right. Go check out the podcast.
What advice do you have for the listeners? I know so far in the conversation, I think a lot of the listeners can glean from a lot of what you shared, but specifically, what do you want to say to them right now? What do you want
Hmm.
to leave them with as far as advice is concerned? And it
Listen
could
to
be
my
personal,
words,
it could be
learn from
professional.
my mistakes.
Mhm,
I would say listen to my words, learn from my mistakes. Um, I also want to speak to the males out there, even though I spoke on issues that may seem that it only pertains to female, like the fibroids, but men also get breast cancer. But not to say just speaking on breast cancer, just for men in general, they don't really like to go to the doctors until it's like too late.
mhm,
So, men, you too, when you feel something, don't try to be a man, quote unquote, about it, you know, and try to endure because there's different forms of endurance. Like, enduring something you don't need to and making it become a mountain instead of a molehill is not
mhm.
really good health wise either. So,
Right.
men, get yourself checked out, you know, go to
Absolutely.
your physical. And when you do go to your physical and your doctor asks you, hey, any changes,
Mhm.
tell them what you tell your wife at home. Don't think it's meaningless because it might be something. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, all our men listening to this podcast this evening, I want to share and highlight what Miss Trish Belizaire-Croft just eloquently stated. Go get checked.
mhm,
And I kind of push back. It says don't be a man about it. But um, if you identify yourself as a man, be a man about it and go get checked out.
mhm, right. Like I say, real
Yeah,
men wear pink. Real men wear pink.
exactly.
You know, it takes a real man to wear pink.
Absolutely. So, lastly, before I let you go, do you have any last words you want to share, or how our audience can stay connected with you?
Um, Last words I want to share. I guess I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Um, I didn't know I didn't know that I didn't like to talk so much about myself. So one thing I learned, and number two, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. You know, I thought I'd be lost for words, but I guess when you go through something and experience it, it's easier to talk about it. So I'm grateful for
Absolutely.
that. I also
Absolutely.
did say a wonderful prayer before I started, so I thank God for giving me the words to speak and to help whoever it may be that is out there listening.
Absolutely. You are so welcome. This was really, really a nice a nice time together, and I think even though conversation is um specific, I think it is for somebody specifically that needs to hear it tonight. just to know
Mhm.
to follow your gut, to know that the Lord's got you at the end of the day, and that our health is paramount, and being an advocate for ourselves. I think from this conversation I got, be an advocate for yourself. No one can advocate for you better than you can advocate for yourself. And that goes for health,
Absolutely.
that goes for injustices that happen in the workforce, that goes for kind of where we are in as it relates to the state of race in this country presently. We have to advocate for ourselves in all spaces. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. And audience, I look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on This Life I Live in Truth podcast. Make sure to visit our website, www.thislifeiliveinTruth.com, where you can stay connected and subscribe to the podcast so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on any and all platforms, or for you to simply tell a friend. Feel free to also check out our e-course, Finding Your Purpose. Until next time, listeners, cancel the noise and seek the truth that is often found in the light.